Hey folks, so I'm going to take another shot at explaining the, discussing the parallels between the death of the Nordic sun god and the death of the Egyptian sun god. So the Egyptian sun god, his name is Re, often mispronounced as Ra, due to Egyptologists spelling it R-A with an accent over the A to mean Re, but it's often misread as Ra. Anyway, so Re is killed by Isis, and it seems that the death of Balder, who is the Nordic sun god, is seems to have the same origin. So I'm just gonna try to. Last time I tried to just read through both stories, but apparently this took so long that I couldn't really get through it. By the end of before it cut me off, like my phone cuts me off after 30 minutes, so wasn't even enough time, I guess, or I guess I went on too many diversions, but try to skip to the main parts. The goddess Isis lived in the form of a woman who had the knowledge of words of power. So, basically in the Nordic one, Frigg, in the Nordic story of the sun's death, Frigg plays an important role, and Frigg and Isis both seem to represent Venus, the planet. And both are the, as it says, she had knowledge of words of power. So that's one of the distinctive characteristics of this figure in both stories, that Frigg is the mistress of, oaths and magical spells and stuff, and as is Isis. So it says her heart turned away in disgust from the millions of men, and she chose for herself the millions of the gods, but esteemed more highly the millions of the spirits. So she's probably the morning star, like Venus rising primarily, and her sister Nephthys being Venus setting. So as she rises from the horizon in the morning, she's seen as turning away from the men and joining the gods, being the stars. But it says that she esteemed more highly the millions of the spirits. So the spirits, I'm not sure what that means, if it means the spirits of the dead. It may mean that, but it may also mean that and or the underworld and the terrestrial gods that represent islands and peninsulas and lakes and rivers and stuff like that. I think that might be what's translated here as spirits, because Isis and all the Venus deities tend to be closely connected to the underworld spirits. Like Inanna, Inanna is supposed to bring the underworld gods with her as she rises. So anyway, Re entered heaven each day at the head of his mariners, yada yada. So reached unto. So okay, now the divine one had become old. Anyway, was it possible to become? Her heart turned away in disgust, yada yada spirits. Was it possible to become even as was Re in heaven and upon earth, and to make herself mistress of the earth and a mighty goddess Thus she meditated in her heart by the knowledge of the name of the holy God. And it explains that like this, it's this concept, not, it's like a conceptual device of saying that Re has an unknowable name because, whose names by reason of their multitude are unknowable, for even the gods know them not. So because there's so many names for the sun in every language, they use that to kind of pretend that he has a secret name that nobody knows. So she's trying to find out that name so she can have power over him. Was it not possible to become even as was Re in the heaven and upon earth, and to make herself mistress of the earth by the knowledge of the name of the holy God? Behold, Re entered, blah, 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 establishing himself. Now the divine one had become old. He dribbled at the mouth. He let his emissions go forth from him upon the earth, and his spittle fell upon the ground. This Isis kneaded in her hand with some dust, and she fashioned it in the form of a sacred serpent, and made it to have the form of a dart, so that none might be able to escape alive from it. And she left it lying upon the road whereon the great God traveled, according to his desire about the two lands. So this seems to relate to Apep. It doesn't call it Apep, but it seems to be the same as the Apep story, because Re in his travels between the world and the underworld, America and Afro-Eurasia, his main danger is Apep, who is a serpent who attacks him and can stop him in his tracks and prevent him from rising, etc. And Apep is often located, it tends to be located in the sea, in the Akhet, in the horizon, but especially in the in basically the Pacific Ocean. And in the books of two ways, he is indicated in or around Baja California, and there's a chance he actually is Baja California, because Baja California has two and arguably three kind of points that stick out of it, out of the western side of it, which can be difficult for mariners passing it, which I think is probably the origin of this tradition. Because the mariners, they try to basically become the sun god in some sense, because the sun god is the one who is able to cross the oceans. So they become his avatar. And so it's possible that because Baja California has these pointy shapes on the western side, that it itself could be the dart, the sacred serpent, and have the form of a dart, like a serrated dart. But it's not quite clear. It could also have to do with the difficulty of navigating the Gulf of California, where the two, where the Gulf hits the Pacific. It's very, very, dodgy sailing or swimming or even wading. So she takes it, she forms it, the form of a dart, so that none might be able to escape alive from it, and she left it lying upon the road whereon the great God traveled, according to his desire about the two lands. So two lands, probably the world and the underworld. Then the holy God rose up in the tabernacle, yada yada, and among those journeying on his way, the holy serpent shot its fang into him. And the living fire was departed from the God's own body, and the reptile destroyed the dweller among the cedars. And the mighty God opened his mouth, and the cry of his majesty So among the cedars suggests that he's in the east vis-a-vis Egypt, so in the west vis-a-vis North, vis-a-vis America, because the cedars are associated with Lebanon, which is east of Egypt, and it's seen to, and I think even in Mesopotamian traditions, Shumash, the sun god, is seen to like climb up from the Easter, in the morning, climb up through the cedars. So again, this is in line with Apep in a sense, because it's towards the Pacific. The cry of His Majesty, what is it? What is the matter? No words were to answer. His jaw shook. His lips trembled, and the poison. And so, yeah, and here it mentions how here we have another instance of the important part which the spittle played in magical ceremonies that were intended to produce evil effects. Okay, no, never mind. That's some weird shit. Don't try this at home. But yeah, like. Then the great God made firm his heart. I had been smitten by some deadly thing of which my heart hath no knowledge, and which I have neither seen with my eyes nor made with my hand. And I have no knowledge at all who hath done this to me. I have never before felt any pain like this. What could be worse than this? Yada yada. My father, my mother, and when a blow was aimed at me, but I know not what kind. Behold, is it fire? Behold, is it water? My heart is full of burning fire. My limbs are shivering, and my members have darting pains in them. So basically, I was going along the road, passing through the two lands of my country, probably my territory, whatever, for my heart wished to look upon what I had made. It says here, the position of Isis as the great enchantress is well defined. So this is the same as in the Nordic tradition, Frigg, Friday, celebrated every Friday. Is well defined, and several instances of her magical powers are recorded. By the utterance of her words of power, she succeeded in raising the dead. Nothing could withstand them because they were of divine origin. She learned them from Thoth, the intelligence of the greatest of the gods. So Thoth is Odin in the Nordic tradition. Also the fastest of the gods. And the fastest planet, Mercury. So she tries to get his name from him, and eventually he gives her basically his spirit or something, which is to say that because she had destroyed both of his eyes, the sun and the moon, she took his spirit and becomes like the sun of the nighttime. Like when there's no moon or sun, Isis is the brightest celestial body. So that's what this is about. And i.e. the eye of the sun and the eye of the moon. The sun and the moon were the visible material symbols of the sun god. So the great God shall bind himself by an oath to give his two eyes. And he yields up his name. And then, So it seems that even though the Nordic version of this is completely different, like the main one that I know, and probably I think the longest story about this that is extant and known is Snorri Sturluson's the Prose Edda. But there's problems in Sturluson. Like it seems that he may have switched a lot of stuff around. Like a lot of this stuff is, like it's both it's a revelation and a cover up in the same thing. It's like, it's made to basically trick the Christians. Seems to be in a lot of ways. But so in this one, Balder, who is Ray, he's the sun. Hi, one. I will tell you something about something that seemed far more important, yada yada. The beginning of this story is that Balder the Good had some terrible dreams that threatened his life. When he told the Aesir, the gods, these dreams, which the Aesir might just be the planets. I'm not sure if it's all the gods or just the planets. They took counsel together, and it was decided to seek protection for Balder from every kind of evil. Frigg exacted an oath from fire and water. So again, we have this fire and water in this story. Sometimes things get so jumbled that you just have to see that these certain details that carry through. Iron and all kinds of metal, stones, earth, trees, ailments, beasts, birds, poison, and serpents, that they would not harm Balder. So again, Frigg is the mistress of oaths, the mistress of words of power. She's Venus. But in this one, supposedly they're looking to her for help. Like first it just this is very strange. It's like, if anything, this is the one version that seems like it's altered and that was originally based on something closer to the Egyptian version. Because in this, they're coming to her for help, which also in the Egyptian one, they also came to her for help, even though she was the one who caused it. And my guess is she caused this too. It says, when this is done, Balder and the Aesir used to amuse themselves by making him stand up at their assemblies for some time to throw darts at, others to strike, and the rest to throw stones at. No matter what was done, he was never hurt, and everyone thought that a fine thing. When Loki, see, this is one thing. It seems that Snorri might blame Loki for everything for some certain reason, which Loki might not have actually been such a, negative character in the actual ancient religion. It's not totally clear, but similarly as Loki is the father of Hel, America, and Hel was actually revered as a goddess in ancient times, whereas under Christianity it was maligned and demonized. It might be for the same reason. Therefore, if they're going to, since Snorri basically portrays Hel negatively for the most part, maybe that's why he also blames everything on Loki instead, even when it might have been Frigg that actually did this. But instead he has, when Loki, Laufey's son, saw that, however, he was annoyed that Balder was not hurt, and he went disguised as a woman. So again, in the other story it says Isis was a woman, or like it's specific, like that's the only story I've ever seen where it specifically says Isis appeared as a woman or was manifested as a woman. Here it says Loki was disguised as a woman, went to Fensalir to visit Frigg, Venus. Frigg asked this woman if she knew what the Aesir were doing at the assembly. She answered that they were all throwing things at Balder, moreover, that he was not being hurt. Frigg remarked, "Neither weapons nor trees will injure Balder. I have taken an oath from them all." The woman asked, "Has everything sworn you an oath to spare Balder?" Frigg replied, "West of Valhalla grows a little bush called mistletoe. I did not exact an oath from it. I thought it too young." Thereupon the woman disappeared. So basically that's in the same place, because the other one is seems to be talking about the sunrise, so it's towards the Pacific Ocean. And then this is saying west of Valhalla. Valhalla is either in hell in America, or it's a synonym for hell for America. And if it's a part of hell, there's a good chance it's Mexico, because Mexico was such, was really the heart of America or at least the heart of North America for a lot of people. And it's, it seems to be like in the Egyptian tradition, when the sun goes across America, it goes into the Gulf of Mexico and then it exits Baja California. So again, mistletoe is shaped like Baja California. It has serrated edges like Baja California. So that could be because the European traditions often used trees and plants to symbolize everything, while the Egyptian tradition tended to use serpents to symbolize everything. So the mistletoe might be, or I think the leaves of the mistletoe are like that. They're like serrated, or maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but pretty sure it is. And and shaped very much like Baja California. And it's interesting that like Isis creates something that's, it says is shaped like a dart. And mistletoe, if I Googled the etymology of it, and they said like toe means twig, and missile, they just say they don't know what it means. But it seems to me it means actual missile. It means a dart, because the etymology of missile is Proto-Indo-European, so it's pretty similar in Germanic, Celtic, Latin, etc. It's from like myth or mist. It's like the same root word. So mistletoe probably means dart, missile, or dart twig, which is exactly, what this story is about. I did not exact an oath from it. I thought it too young. So maybe they're trying to say that Baja California was too young because it's relatively new landmass that came about through volcanic tectonic stuff, whatever. I'm not really sure. It's also interesting that in the maps of America, Baja is the only part that is colored white, and all the other underworld gods are colored red, or like reddish. Thereupon the woman disappeared. So to me, it's very suspicious that supposedly Loki is a woman here and is always talking to Frigg. Like, I think Loki's getting framed. Loki being Saturn, who is Jehovah. It seems like, Jehovah is Loki. Jehovah is Saturn. That's why they choose worship on Saturday, or Yahweh or whatever. Loki took hold of the mistletoe, pulled it up, and went to the assembly. Now, so in this sense, you could say it's the same, because she was the one who basically creates this danger by not exacting an oath from this missile thing, and then it's somebody else who throws it. So maybe the god in in this version who throws it, or no, I think it's him that, okay, never mind. It's him that gives it to another god to throw. So why aren't you throwing darts at Balder? See, it's all about darts. Both stories are about darts, also called missiles. The traditional word missile also just means a dart. Loki took hold of the mistletoe. Aren't you throwing? So now Hod was standing on the outer edge of the circle of men because he was blind. Loki asked him, "Why aren't you throwing darts at Balder?" He replied, "Because I can't see where Balder is. Another thing, I have no weapon." Then Loki said, "You go and do as the others are doing and show Balder honor like other men. I will show you where he is standing. Throw this twig at him." So twig. So mistletoe, even, even Wikipedia says that toe means twig, but they say they don't know what missile means. But they do. But if you Google the word missile, it's of Proto-Indo-European origin, meaning a dart. So pretty certain that mistletoe means dart twig. And mistletoe he took the mistletoe and aimed at Balder as directed. Throw this twig at him. Aimed at Balder, directed by Loki. The dart went right through him and he fell dead to the ground. This was the greatest misfortune ever to befall gods and men. And then they beseech Hel, who is America, let's see, they say, would he, death of Balder. When the gods recovered from the first shock, Frigg spoke. She asked which of the Aesir wished to win her whole affection and favor. Would he ride the road to hell to try if he could? So here she's saving him. And she saves him in the first one too, again. But she also was the one who caused it. And she also basically caused it in this too. She asked which of the Aesir wished to win her whole affection and favor. Would he ride the road to hell to try if he could find Balder and offer Hel a ransom if she would allow, because Hel is a goddess, Balder to come home to Asgard. The one who undertook this journey was a son of Odin called Hermod the Bold. So Odin is Mercury, and Hermod is probably the same as Hermes, who might be an aspect of Mercury. Then they caught Odin's horse, Sleipnir. So Sleipnir is the fastest thing in the universe. And, Mercury is by far the fastest planet in the solar system. And led him forward, and Hermod mounted that steed and galloped away. They took Balder's body, and Balder's ship was called Ringhorn. So Ringhorn means curved prow. So that's probably what is called the Henu bark in the Egyptian tradition. It's like the solar bark. Balder's ship. And anyway, I'm trying to look at it through that, but seizing his hammer. So basically Hel says, if everybody will weep for you, then I will bring you back to life. Says, I must ride to Hel to seek for Balder. Have you anything of him on his way here? She said that Balder had ridden past over the bridge of the Jewel, but the road to Hel lies downwards and northwards. Because when you understand that the earth is globular, every direction is down from where you are, and north is the quickest way to America from Scandinavia. So Hermod rode on till he came to the gates of Hel. But the thing was, so it's in the end, they sent, if everything in the world, both dead and alive, weeps for him, then he shall go back to the Aesir, but he shall remain in Hel if anyone objects or will not weep. So Frigg weeps, but I think, but there's it's a woman who they say, when the messenger is coming home, They met with a giantess, a woman, her name is Thok, and she refused to